All right, this week on the pod, it is the one, the only Ron Baird, the singer of Stalag 13. And anyone that knows my trajectory in punk and hardcore knows how important Stalag 13 was to me, especially that first 12-inch EP. You know what it's called. So that's coming up. If you would like to support the show, please like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And please do that. It's just a very simple, easy way to help the pod. You know, give it 5 stars, give it a like, give it a quick review. You know, you only got to leave like 5 words or some shit, right? This pod is sick. This pod is cool. Whatever. That is much appreciated. Please do that. If you want to go the extra mile, you can go to patreon.com/185 miles south. And you can become a monthly patron and help me out that way. It helps cover the cost of the show. So I can travel around and keep buying equipment, keep buying fucking memory cards and all the bullshit that fucking sucks buying. My Patreons are my true heroes. I love you all, to a man and woman. So yeah, let's do this shit. It's fucking Ron from Stalag 13. Let's do it.
"185 Miles South", a hardcore punk rock podcast.
All right, this week on the pod, we have Ron Baird from Stalag 13. And thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you're living out where now?
So I live in Melbourne, Australia. So it's I guess the second most populous city in Australia. So it's in Victoria, on the southeast coast of Australia.
Okay, and for a while, weren't you living out on the west side?
No. I've never lived up there. I've lived here pretty much since 1989. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
All in Melbourne. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I've been back to the U.S. quite a bit, and actually I lived in the U.S. for 6 months last year because my wife was on sabbatical leave at UC Berkeley.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
Ron, what year did you get into punk and hardcore?
Oh God, man. Okay, now I'm stretching my memory here, but I would say roughly around about 1979.
Okay, and do you remember how you came across it?
Yeah, it was, one of those phenomena you started to see. I'd heard of the Sex Pistols, and I mean, it really was. I went to the supermarket with my mom, and I was looking at an issue. I think it was Cream magazine or something, and there was an article on the Sex Pistols because and I'd read that, and I was, and it mentioned the Clash and the Damned and a couple of other bands, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm punk, Yeah. And it just captured my imagination. I suppose I've been, I don't know, looking for an identity. I was, I'd always been really into music. I was really into Ted Nugent, Cheap Trick at the time, and just I don't know, something about punk. That kind of I guess gritty street kind of that FU culture kind of grabbed my attention.
Yeah, so the attitude grabbed you first, and then do you remember what you listened to, like what you sunk your teeth into first?
No, it was definitely all that English punk I just mentioned. I think I went down to to the local mall, and the first record I bought was it's a Clash, like a little 10-inch EP.
Okay.
With Bank Robber on it and White Riot, that was the first record I bought, and then it was a collection. I bought Anarchy in the UK. I bought the Damned, Machine Gun Etiquette, and then from there I started branching out. I think the first kind of U.S. punk record I bought was X.
Mhm.
So X, the famous one with the flaming X on the cover. I think it was titled Los Angeles. Remember?
That's right.
Yeah, that was yeah. And that was actually my first real punk show. Was actually seeing X at the in Santa Barbara at the State Street Theater.
Cool. So,
And that's where that's where I met actually. That's where I met Ismael Hernandez and Jaime Hernandez. Like Jaime from Love and Rockets and Ismael from Dr. No and various other bands, and they kind of then really kind of got me into the scene.
yeah. And where were you living at that time?
So I mean, funnily enough, I don't even come from Oxnard. I'm from Port Hueneme, California, which is right. It's kind of surrounded by Oxnard,
Sure.
but it's a little town right on the beach there. So that's where I was living at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And who do you go up to that X show with? Like, you have other friends that are already into punk rock?
No, nah. I mean, because I was pretty young then. I think 79. I'd probably been about 14 or 15. So my mom drove me.
Awesome.
It was like the most unpunk thing ever.
No, I don't know. I think that's cool because that means that you had to like vouch to your mom that you were that big of a fan.
Yeah. My parents were pretty cool. They were very lefty and progressive, and look, and I was I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so I think I kind of got an easy ride. It was like, yeah, okay, whatever you're into it, yeah, cool, I'll take you.
That's so cool. And so, how did you meet like Ismael and his brothers? Like,
funnily enough, it was like I went to the show. I worked my way. I was right in the in the pit and right up the front, and just. I mean, I don't even think I moshed. I think I just kind of got right to the front of the stage and was just in awe of, this music. And then it wasn't until after the show, I think my mom and I, we stopped at 7-Eleven and, to grab a Coke or something. And Ismael and Jaime and some others were, I guess doing the same thing. And, I think it was Ismael that said to me like, hey, I think I've seen you, walking down Ventura Road, and I go, yeah, and so Ismael spoke to me, and he said, I'm Ismael, meet my brother, and and so it was just at a 7-Eleven, and so I kind of met those guys there,
yeah, that's so cool, and so then it's a couple years of going to shows before you decide to do your own band.
Yeah, pretty much. Initially a lot of parties, and I mean, I have to give a shout out to Mike Hickey too. So he's Mark Hickey's little brother from Aggression, and I went to junior high with him, and he kind of he introduced me to Mark as well. So this was all kind of happening at the same time, like around the X show time as well, and so I went to a party in Ventura. So initially it was a lot of parties. So I went to a party in Ventura where Aggression was playing, and that's where I met a whole heap of other people. So it was, mainly parties and shows. So, for a couple of years. So 79, 80, probably 81.
Yeah.
And 81, I was really thinking, I want to do something, like it's, because I mean, that's the whole thing about the culture. It's like, hey, you don't have to just watch your idols. You can be your own idol.
Yeah. There's no barrier to entry. That's a great thing about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or do you?
So it was, sorry, go ahead.
No, just going back. I like to talk about the early days because I wasn't there, and a lot of the listeners weren't. So, any other standout shows like in those early '80s, and what was a show like in Santa Barbara in like 1980, and what is like a house party show in Ventura like in 1981?
Yeah. Like, just awesome. The energy, like in Santa Barbara, it was the Goleta Valley Community Center, and then a little bit later, like this place called La Casa de la Raza on the east side of Santa Barbara. And the shows were just, full on energy. And probably like, if I'll say a highlight show, I don't know, it was the Bad Branson, so it might not be 80, maybe 81. and the Bad Brains played Goleta Valley Community Center, and that was just off tap, man. Like just the energy, it's just crazy, man. But like everyone looking after each other, but just the mosh pit so intense, and just that high octane, high energy.
Yeah, and then how many?
It was just so fun, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't imagine getting to see the Bad Brains in like '81. That's insane.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and great human beings. I know shit's come out after about because I know there was some shit went down between them and the big boys around there a little bit.
Yeah. That was a little later. We can think that they were 100% pure when they played Santa Barbara in '81.
Yeah. But yeah, just total energy, total. I just felt alive, man. That's all. That was like some of my happiest times. Just being a show, and in the parties, man. I mean, it depended on the party. It was somewhere there was bands playing. It was really cool. But often it was, just kind of hanging out and talking and sharing stories and sharing knowledge. And I guess in many respects, looking back, it's kind of like learning the subculture. Because one of the places we used to hang out a lot in Ventura was this Art and Joey. So Art Pena and Joey Pena, and they were kind of stalwarts of the scene. A fair bit old. I don't even know how old they are, but like I said, I would have been 15. They had their own apartments and jobs, so they probably would have been in their 20s,
Sure.
And, we used to just go and hang out there, man, till all hours of the night, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, sleep there, and, just talking shit and hanging out. And then other parties, there's bands playing and kind of just a real local energy. But, and I used to have heaps of parties at my house. Like my parents were really down with the whole scene, and were, really, open and friendly with all my friends. And, they knew, they pretty much knew everybody, Big Bob from Aggression used to live, and we had a granny flat behind our house, like a little small place behind it. And him and Cece used to live there for quite a while. And Aggression used to practice there. And then I was in Dr. No for a little while too, which is probably I guess a very obscure fact. I was in Dr. No for a little while, for a few months.
And did you sing?
Yeah, I sang. Yeah.
Cool. What year would that have been?
Yeah. Oh God, probably 80, 81 around there.
Yeah, so like infancy.
81, yeah.
The infancy of Dr. No.
Yeah. It was at that stage. It was. Carl Toucher was Dr. No, so it was Carl Toucher, Ismael Hernandez. So Carl Toucher on guitar and Ismael on bass, and then they had a guy named Robin something.
Yeah.
On drums.
No,
then I sang for a little while.
Sure. When Brandon was on the pod, I think he went through is like I was the 5th, the 9th, the 17th singer of Dr. No. So
yeah. They had a lot of them.
Yeah.
I can't even remember. I remember there was some guy Mark for a while who was kind of a goth. He looked like Morrissey actually. It was fun, the leather pants. He sang with them for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that dude, but
but that's how you got your chops a little bit.
Sorry?
You got your chops a little bit though, like in that, if that's the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time I went, oh, hey, this is, I can do this shit, because I'd always, like I said, I'd always into music. I was always singing, and I used to play trombone and that, so in the junior high band and shit like that. But that was kind of my first foray into taking a mic. And then I played in a band that was for a little while, for probably about 6 months or so. It was Ismael Hernandez on bass, Rick Heller, like the kind of the well known original drummer from Dr. No.
Sure.
And so and I think Ismael might have played guitar or something, but because I know Jaime played bass, or maybe Gilbert played guitar actually, his other brother Gilbert.
Yeah.
And it was this band called Ape Sex, and it was kind of just a jokey band. And I remember we played at a party. I think we just kind of like they started jamming, and I picked up the mic, and we just started, we would kind of just make up shit, and then we actually were doing it as a band for a little while, and I remember we would, we'd just make up crap as we went. Like there was, we had a song called "There's a Big Light Bulb in Jaime's Living Room" because he had this big light bulb, and just dumb. And that was just kind of fun, like just. And I think we just played a couple of parties.
You never recorded?
Yeah. Nah, we never recorded. So this would have been, about 80, 81.
That's a pretty savage name, though. If you you viscerally think about ape sex,
Yeah, ape sex. Yeah. I think that was Jaime came up with it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, he was classic. Yeah.
So are you a part of forming Stalag, or do they form and then they find you?
Okay, no, this is one thing I'd like to, get out in the public. I mean, I think it kind of is known, but, I'm totally happy with those guys still playing, but I mean, I just want it on record. I am Stalag 13, I mean, it sounds arrogant or whatever, but it was, kind of my band, my vehicle, my, vision, I was the founding member, the driver, the manager, the merchandiser, I did kind of everything for that band. And I mean, the funny thing is like this band that's kind of known that we recorded with. So, Blake and Larry and John Morris and, it was Dave Casillas, but he's, long battle with drugs that he still hasn't. That's why they booted him out this time again. But that's kind of the second iteration of the band. The first band was my really good mate, Eric. What was his name? My good mate, and I can't even remember his name. God, what can I remember?
We can say a dude named Eric.
Yeah, a dude named Eric. Not Eric. Sorry, fuck, man. I'm really kind of stretching my brain here. Carl Winrich was his name.
Okay.
Carl. Yeah. So Carl Winrich was on guitar, and there was a guy who's still around, Chuck Collison, but he went by Chuck Steak at the time.
Okay.
So Chuck Steak was on bass, and this guy Kevin Lundberg on drums. So that's the original Stalag 13. And we actually recorded, and it was like a demo tape with about, I don't know, like 20 songs on it. And a few of those songs came out on the Doctor Strange re-release, the CD re-release.
Okay, and it was also not 20, but maybe 9 songs or so. They got bootlegged onto a 7-inch of your demo as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
that demo is with that lineup.
So that demo is with that lineup. Yeah. So that was, Carl Winrich on guitar, Chuck Steak on bass, Kevin Lundberg on drums, and myself on vocals.
Okay.
And that was, it was me and Carl started the band because we were hanging out a lot in kind of 81. And, we used to practice at his dad's house in North Oxnard or downtown Oxnard. He lived in this kind of nice old colonial house. And, it was, so it was initially me and Carl, and then I think maybe, Israel from False Confessions might have played bass for a little while, or might have even sang, because initially I was the drummer, ironically. Okay. So I was drumming, Carl was on guitar, and then, I think Israel either playing bass or might have been singing. Kind of all vague, and I remember we played a party with that lineup where I was drumming, and then I think Israel, left or something or another, and we couldn't find a singer. We'd gotten Chuck on bass, and we couldn't find a singer, and I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna sing because I'm kind of a gregarious out there sort of person, and I don't want to be stuck behind a drum kit. So I started singing, and we got this guy Kevin Lundberg from Ventura, and so that was the first lineup, and we played. I mean, that lineup was, I don't know, about a year, probably into 82, end of 82, and we played our first kind of big show up at the roller drum, so the Thunderbirds roller drum, so roller derby establishment up in East Los Angeles with Circle One organized this big 2-day kind of festival. And, I think the Circle Jerks were playing, and, a whole bunch of, whole bunch of bands. And yeah, we played with that lineup there.
Was your demo out at that point?
Then,
was your demo out at that point?
Yeah, our demo was out at that point. Yeah. And I was I was, reproducing that thing as quick as I could and just kind of giving it to anybody and everybody. And
yeah, so let's talk a little. Let's talk a little bit.
One of them made it to Brazil.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to talk about the demo. Just moving back a little bit. So, going in and recording it, where did you record the demo at?
So we recorded it at this studio in West Ventura. I think East Ventura, called Goldmine Studios. Okay. And it was just like a recording studio in a kind of like an industrial estate. I think there was some panel beater shops around. Auto repair shops, and so it was kind of good. They tended to operate in the evening, so all these businesses were closed.
Yeah, and that's the same place that's where Ill Repute did their demo as well.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody at that time did their, because they had a deal like it was $200, mixed down as much as, like 8 hours of studio time.
Yeah.
So as much songs as you could kind of fit in and mixed and mastered, for $200 or $300 or something. It's pretty cheap for the time. And so, yeah, that's where we recorded our demo. Yeah. And I think, there was quite a few songs, because our songs were pretty short then, we were kind of Husker Du in it, kind of, 51 seconds, a minute and 3, minute and 30.
Yeah, well, Stalag, especially for the demo, I mean, you're definitely influenced by the early U.S. hardcore stuff, more so than Dr. No is a little more influenced by the second wave of the UK, like the Discharge type stuff.
Yeah.
And Aggression is maybe a little more. It's like I don't know. It's the first wave of American hardcore as well. It's like
well, they were a bit older too, so they were had more rock influences and stuff. Where we were like, we were little kids. I was probably the oldest person in the band at that stage, and I was like 18.
Yeah, and you just come in blazing.
Blake, when he joined us,
you come in blazing with these super short, fast songs.
Yeah, and I mean, and look, I'll tell you who I kind of just loved and emulated at the time was. Definitely Husker Du, like fucking loved them. Black Flag, loved them. Minor Threat, totally into them. A lot of that East Coast hardcore, the Necros, SSD, Marginal Man, Government Issue, all of those bands, So that's really kind of what where I kind of, sunk my teeth into. That's what I was listening to on high rotation, And even bands like the Middle Class, I got that Middle Class 7-inch and just that short, sharp bursts of just gritty reality, and the lyrics just pure kind of social commentary. The Middle Class are one unsung heroes of Southern California punk.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's debatable of what the first hardcore record is, right? It's either the Bad Brains or that Middle Class 7-inch of who went that fast.
Yeah. And so that's kind of, definitely. Like, I mean, I always say, like, I say I'm a punk, but I always say, hardcore, I mean, for me, that was like that first, it was that transition from punk into hardcore. So it was kind of, we were leaving that kind of 77 vibe behind, because that really wasn't my scene. I mean, I was really into bands, I really liked and appreciated bands like the Gears and, the Controllers and all that, but that was really kind of a, particular type of Hollywood kind of 77 influence, American punk rock. Whereas I really kind of, say that was the juncture, kind of 82 was that, we were kind of, this is hardcore, and that's, kind of where I positioned myself,
Yeah. And are you running with the Straight Edge thing at this point, at the demo time?
So at the demo time, like it's initially, look, I'll tell you, initially I had a short, sharp stint of, kind of alcohol abuse and drug abuse. There was a period, it was very short. I remember probably 12 to 18 months, probably 14, 15 into my late 15. And, that early entry into where I was just, drunk all the time, high all the time, on LSD a lot, and it was and it was like a friend of mine. Well, John Fenner, was a really close friend of mine, and and he was always straight. Like he didn't become straight edge. He just never drank or never did drugs. He was just a surf kid who was clean and very kind of athletic, physical guy, and and he was kind of like encouraged me, hey man, maybe you should not be doing that shit. And it was when I heard Minor Threat, like that first 7-inch. It was, I've talked about this before on another interview, but it was like a religious experience. That's how I can really put it. It was like an epiphany. Like, I heard, the song Straight Edge, and I was like, I think from that moment I said, I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not doing this shit, And so going into that recording, so I think when I started Stalag 13, I was probably still, drinking, but yeah, definitely by the time we hit the studio to do that, I was, kind of claiming straight edge. Yeah.
Yeah. And Stalag is the first straight edge band out of California. Is that correct?
That is, I think, a documented fact. Yeah. That's, I don't know if you know Ryan Hansler's, he was a straight edge punk from the Denver scene. And he's a sociologist now, and he wrote an ethnographic study kind of in the 90s, but of the Denver hardcore scene and, the straight edge subculture. And he has us listed he's got a timeline of straight edge bands, and he has us listed as the first, California or West Coast straight edge band. So I think we can definitely, claim that.
Yeah.
Because we came before Uniform Choice and,
of course,
yeah.
So the
which who are great guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that it goes Stalag number 1, America's Hardcore is second, and then Justice League.
Oh, it's Justice League. Yeah, I was going to say.
Who are you thinking?
Totally. Well, probably, yeah, definitely America's Hardcore and Justice League probably at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Unities and the Uniform Choices come.
Yeah. And Unity were again another, they were an awesome band.
Yeah, 7-inch is amazing.
Yeah.
And everyone, if you don't have the Unity 7-inch, you got to go buy it. Indecisionrecords.com. It's still in press. So send Dave your money.
Oh, really? I've got an original.
Well, you're the man.
Yeah.
I got the repress.
I've got a lot of sitting around on a lot of originals. Like I've got an original pressing of In My Eyes, and an original pressing of the initial Minor Threat 7-inch. I had an initial pressing of The Kids Will Have Their Say by SSD, and some bastard stole it. I got the sleeve, but yeah, it was like my daughter was going through a vinyl the other day, and she goes, "Hey, how come there's no record in this?" And I go, "Because some scumbag stole it at a party I had."
Oh, it's so bad. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So do you see the Stalag popularity? Like, you put out the demo, you're pushing it everywhere. Well, first off, what is the art on the demo? I'm assuming it's not the same as the bootleg. Is it a Hernandez brother drawing?
On the on the bootleg is a Brian Walsby. That's a Brian Walsby drawing.
I think it's I think it's a one of I don't think it's a Walsby. I think it's a Hernandez brother of, like, it's kind of like that death rock looking band, and they're kind of fighting the crowd.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look, to be quite honest, I don't have a copy of the bootleg. I've seen it.
Yeah, I'll send you a photo.
I don't have a copy. Yeah.
So what did the demo look like?
So the demo, man, it was just a cassette, man. Like, we never had.
You didn't do covers. You just passed out a cassette.
I think when I think I did a photocopy cover that, just to kind of Stalag 13.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's sick.
It had that that Germanic, kind of writing,
Mm-hmm.
that was, all Hyman, man. Cause he did everything. He's like the unsung, he is sung, but like, the hero of Nardcore, man. I mean, he kind of did all this art for free. And, like, sometimes I feel really bad. Like, I would go, I'd love to just kind of gift him some cash or something, because, I mean, really, he's kind of got nothing from that. And it was punk, man. Nothing was, we didn't think about copyright and all that shit. We just put stuff out, And, it was, I remember when I approached, because we had a couple of different styles of writing it at the time. Like we had this kind of Husker Du ripoff one where it was kind of all black, and then in kind of block writing was Stalag 13, and then this kind of black block was crumbling and kind of cracks through it, kind of like, you know, how Husker Du had the crack through their name. And
Sure.
you know, but that kind of didn't stick, and there was, you know, it was really that kind of, you know, that writing that's on In Control that kind of stuck. And I mean, and Jaime had done that pretty early, like in the piece, probably 82, 83, because I mean, you know, now, I mean, you might know more than me, but I'm pretty sure the album came out in 84, the EP, you know, In Control.
Yeah, the LP came out,
in 84, I think. Yeah.
12-inch EP in 84.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was early 84, because I remember doing like lyrical overdubs in kind of December of 83.
Okay. So the next thing that comes out after the demo is the song Selfish. It's on the We Got Power compilation LP.
Yeah.
In 83.
Yeah,
is that just a song off the demo, or did you go record that separately?
No, we were I think we did. I think it's just off the demo, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really good early Mystic comp. I mean, 1983 is early for them, and it's curated by the guys that did that zine, the We Got Power.
Dave Markey, Jordan Schwartz, I think Phil, you know, those kind of Sin 34, the Santa Monica guys, you know, and gals. You know.
Do you see your popularity surge a little bit after like the demo's out there, and you know, you have this song on a big compilation?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, totally.
And you're playing what circuit?
And also,
You're playing.
And also,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, the phone stuff's hard. We step on each other. I haven't. Yeah. I'm still an amateur. I'm trying to figure out the timing.
No. It's just good synergy and talking. You know, I mean, look, because I get, you know, so excited talking about this shit.
No, I'm excited too. I mean, you're one of my favorite bands ever. So,
thank you.
What circuit is Stalag playing? The demo comes out. You do this song. You're playing kind of Santa Barbara to LA. Do you ever go down to San Diego?
So, no, we never got down. I don't think we ever played San Diego, to be quite honest. We played, you know, we were playing deep into Orange County.
Okay.
You know, like, you know, I can't even remember. Like Seamus O'Brien's, I remember, I think it took us like 2 hours to get there.
Sure.
Know? I don't even know where that is. I don't know if it's Torrance or Anaheim or past Anaheim. You know, somebody will probably know, but there was this place called Seamus O'Brien's. We played there with Articles of Faith, and that was fucking awesome. There was like 30 people there, and it was like a fucking awesome show.
Yeah.
And we got interviewed that night for Flipside.
Oh, cool.
Alan Hudd interviewed us that night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Well, I mean,
and that really fucking so to answer your question about what we were playing, we were playing mercilessly. Mm-hmm. Like we were all about, I mean, we weren't touring, I mean, as far as, you know, going interstate, but we were playing like, you know, as far as to the outer regions of Orange County, you know, anywhere in that Southern California, greater Los Angeles, you know, up in Santa Barbara, up in Goleta, Ventura, Oxnard, you know, up San Gabriel, you know, and I mean, some of the venues, but we really played like what is everything escaping now? In Hollywood, the famous kind of
the Cafe de Grand.
The Cafe de Grand.
Yeah.
That was like our practice room practically, apart from my parents' garage. Like we would play there, you know, sometimes like 2-3 times a week, you know, like Wednesday night, whatever. We played there so many times. Cafe de Grand, but also the Sportsman's Valley, or the in the San Fernando Valley, there was this place called the Sportsman's Lodge, in this really dodgy part of the East San Fernando Valley, you know, where there's a lot of gangs, man, a lot of homeboys, but a great venue. And you know, we played there. You know, we played there with 7 Seconds. We played there with SSD. We played there with a lot of bands. You know, so we were just playing mercilessly. You know, pretty much just that kind of greater LA, kind of Southern California area, but we were playing, definitely Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then often Tuesday, Wednesday. So it was really, we just had this kind of surge of just prolifically playing. And then the other thing I was really into was the DIY thing. So I'm like made stickers, just kind of photocopied on double-sided A4, and actually laminated them with like book contact, and then cut them. And so I would spend days just kind of pumping out these stickers and just giving them away to everybody and giving cassettes away, because my brother at that stage was working at one of these like a $2 shop, those variety stores, and he used to pinch cassettes for me. And so like he'd bring me boxes of cassettes, so I would just duplicate, and I would just give them to anybody. Like, here's a sticker, have a cassette,
yeah,
and and it was just that really kind of, I guess, aggressive direct marketing.
Yeah,
just and just playing all the time.
Yeah.
And so when we were when we would go to shows, because we were really active as well in the scene as far as going to see bands. Like, I loved going to see bands. So usually when we'd go to see a band, we'd be flyering as well, so handing out flyers, handing out stickers, and it was really that I think kind of just really kind of gave us this upsurge of support, because like looking back and talking to people and having been interviewed, I just go, at that time, we just had this huge following, where we would start to go where we would play a hall show in LA, and there would be like hundreds of people there to see us, and the gigs started getting bigger, and it was intense, and also it was,
yeah, well, we talk about, like, one of the reasons why we all get into the music is there's not that much of a barrier to entry. Like, the people in the bands are the kids, and so maybe that resonated with people. If you're always at the shows, you're younger guys, it's like, whether you're playing or not, you're just always there. And if you're likable characters, you're an easy band to latch onto.
Yeah, totally. Because I remember, like the guys from Justice League, they just came up to me one time after the show and said, "Oh man, we love your band. We're in this band Justice League." Gave me a tape, gave me a T-shirt, and we started playing shows with those guys. And again, they were a bit younger. Like, it was kind of cool. Like, I when I was in Berkeley last year, I caught up with Ryan Hoffman. Not as much as I would have liked to. I think I only saw him twice. And we had all these plans to go, to shows and stuff, but I was super busy because I was finishing my PhD. And, so I just kind of had all these writing deadlines sorry, not last year, it was 2018, actually 2018. I'm kind of because we're in 2020 now. So yeah, it was in the kind of July to December 2018, because Ryan Hoffman from Justice League lives up in Danville now. So just 20 minutes out of Berkeley. And so, yeah, like I said, we caught up and had lunch, and and that was awesome. And then we were going to go and see a Strive show, and he hooked up, us getting into free. It was, it was at the what's that famous
Gilman
punk venue in Gilman? Yeah, it was at the Gilman, and then I ended up like I couldn't go, because I had this writing deadline. I had to have a chapter done, and my supervisor was like, "You got to have this chapter done," and so, yeah, but yeah, those guys in Justice League were just awesome. And, and then another, like, and I mean, I guess I'd like to see ourselves as we were very friendly, open, approachable guys. And I was always down for anybody, like, supporting people coming up. And I remember Fat Mike from NoFX, man, he used to always come to our shows. And I remember when he started NoFX, he came to see us at some show in Orange County. And he's going, "Hey, Ron, man, I started this band, man, called NoFX." And I'm like, awesome. Because before that, like, he was really into the scene, and he had like, fanzines and, some early record thing and, promoting shows. He was always really active. And I remember when he started NoFX, and I was like, "That's so cool, Mike, that's awesome." And, and like, they've gone on to, just be huge,
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you start having a little bit of member changes because the sound changes. There's a big difference between the demo and the In Control 12-inch.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
What goes into that, do you think? Does some of the who's writing the songs on the demo compared to who's writing the songs on the LP musically?
Okay, all the songs on the demo were written by Carl Winrich
Okay.
and Chuck Collison, Chuck Stake. So he wrote, he wrote a few of them, but yeah, mainly it was like Carl and I were kind of the, we would go to his house, we would sit down. So this is for the demo. We'd go to his house, sit down, just kind of jam it out. And he'd go, oh yeah, I've got this riff, and and I was just always writing. I mean, for me, like lyrics are nothing but poetry, and I was just always writing, and
Sure.
and then I'd go, oh yeah, I've got this, bit that fits that, and and so that's who wrote the songs there. And then, I mean, what happened with, I'll just give you a quick for me, because I know I like to talk a lot. We went to some party. Oh, it was at Jimmy Callahan's house, so the bass player for Ill Repute. His parents were away, I don't know, on holiday or something. And he had, it was like there was a party there every night. And we went to this party, and Chuck and Carl were there, and they were both off their faces on LSD, high as a fucking kite. Sure. And I, I didn't know this initially, and I get there and I'm trying to talk like, oh yeah, we need to do this, we need to do that. I was kind of trying to have a bit of a band meeting at this party, and they're like, fucking laughing, fucking up, and then they start running from me and hiding from me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I go, these guys are just, they were just, really upsetting me. And I just go, you know what? You guys, you're out of the band. Fuck off. I don't want to see you anymore. You're gone. So it was literally, in 2 seconds flat, it's just me, and I've got a drummer. And then ironically, I went into some room, because I was pissed off, and started talking to some folks. And Blake was there, and I don't know if I had mentioned to some. I just kicked them guys out of the band, man. They're just doing my head in, And I started talking to Blake, and Blake's going, "Oh yeah, I play guitar," and I go, "Oh yeah," and he's like, and we kind of hit it off. I mean, I kind of knew Blake, a little bit, but he's I mean, at this stage, he's probably like 4 years younger than me, so not somebody I would normally hang out with, because I think at this stage I'm like 18 and he's like 14. But I knew him, because I think I'd mentioned to Brandon, like, oh yeah, these guys are pissing me off, and he goes, oh yeah, Blake plays guitar, and so I think I would talk to Blake. Anyways, long story short, that night Blake became the guitarist. So again, I'm time wise, this is probably early '82, I would imagine.
Okay.
Or sometime in '82, and so Blake joins the band. So it's me, Blake, and Kevin Lundberg, and we kind of start jamming, and then Kevin's kind of like, whatever, and kind of, he just kind of drifts away from the band, and I think it was more kind of starting to get into more, I don't know, gothy, dancey type stuff. And so he left, and then so it's me and Blake, and then we auditioned this guy Ricky Bowersock on bass, and just this kind of young kid from Ventura, and so he joins the band, and he was awesome. Ricky is a great guy, but just a bit unstable. Like, I think his family background was single dad raising him, and him and his dad didn't get on. And I think he bailed, and he was like living on the streets in Santa Barbara for a little while, and so it was kind of hard getting him to practice. But he was in the band for a while, and so it was me, Blake, and this guy Ricky on bass, and then we got this guy Joel Liebke from Thousand Oaks on drums, and he was an awesome drummer. And he was a real powerhouse drummer, and so that probably changed the sound. I mean, Blake was the primary songwriter, and I think he picked up a lot of riffs, or kind of maybe leftover stuff from Henry from Aggression, because Henry was Blake's sister Mandy's long, they were partners for a long time.
Sure.
And so Henry, I think, had lived at their house for a little while. So I think, some of those riffs may have been like leftovers from Henry, but Blake was the kind of the main songwriter, musically, and then I was always lyrically. Although I did write In Control was my one musical credit. I wrote the music for In Control.
That's
just
great.
Kind of fucking around on the bass.
Yeah.
One day. And so I think it was having Joel, this real powerhouse drummer, and then Blake and Ricky. But then there was a number of changes. So that lineup that I just described to you, that we played Shameless O'Brien's with Articles of Faith. We got interviewed by Flipside. Things were really going, moving. Ricky left after a while. I'm not sure how long, maybe 6-9 months. And then we got this guy, Ben Adianis, in for a little while from Ventura. And he actually has a songwriting credit on In Control. He wrote, well, I can't even remember what the song is, but he wrote one of the songs on there. And he was kind of short-lived, and there was a few changes, and then Joel left because he just surfed too much, that guy. Like, great drummer, nice guy, but just he was always surfing. And at that stage, so then John Morris kind of joined the band at that stage. He lived in Oxnard Shores, and again, I think Blake knew him, and I kind of vaguely knew him from the scene and, from various parties. And he joined the band, and then he brought Dave. Well, Dave Casillas, he was a funny one because I hung around with him a lot too, in and out. Because Dave was actually Dave Casillas was the guy who introduced me to Carl Winrich. Sorry, this interview's all over the place.
No, it's great. It's great.
I'm trying to piece this history together.
Well, you're filling in the gaps between the records, at least. Like I always thought that Joey Libke played on the demo.
You thought who Joe Libke played on the demo?
Yeah.
No.
So see, you're clearing it up. Yeah. So don't think you're throwing out too much information. Yeah. I'm learning too.
Yeah. So it was actually, Dave, I kind of knew, like, he was just, one of those Oxnard punks that was always around. So he was a friend. And I think he was actually playing and, kind of jamming with John Morris. So they kind of came as a package. So we all of a sudden got a lead guitarist and a bass player. And then, so this is, you can see the band kind of really gelling up and firming up as to, what it's known as today. So it was, and then we went through a few different drummers. I think that guy, Robin Cartwright, was the initial drummer for Dr. No. He played with Stalag for a little while, but he kind of didn't last. And then we had, who did we have on drums at that stage? Harry Meisenheimer. So, who, later went on to join the Cramps and become ultra famous. But he was a drummer. So and then he was ended up being the original drummer for False Confession.
Sure, and he plays on In Control.
So he plays on In Control. Yeah. So and that's where we kind of started doing our first touring, because Harry's parents had this awesome van, man. It was one of those touring vans, with like plush velour seats and, shag carpeting on the ceiling and everywhere. And, just this awesome, like one of those extendo vans, that
sure.
kind of like, it might've been, this kind of like souped up luxury, pimped out, Ford Econo van. And, that was his parents, like the family car, but we used to use that to tour in. And so we started venturing. This is when we started venturing up to playing San Francisco heaps, man.
But
we played the on Broadway.
That's after In Control, though, correct?
So, well, probably just prior to In Control and after. Like we did, you're probably right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about.
Hold on. In '83, we did start venturing up to
the Bay,
to San Francisco. Yeah, to the Bay. Yeah.
Okay. So you went in and recorded In Control. Where do you record at?
Okay, we initially recorded it at. I had this girlfriend at the time who her dad was a muso, and he had this friend who had this studio. This thing they were putting together, and they had this like awesome, Jimi Hendrix recorded on this analog disc kind of deal. And, we were really kind of sold on, we're going to record there. And the guy producing it, this guy, George Newberry, or Jorge Newberry, as we used to call him, who ironically went on to be a ultra wealthy property developer in Chicago and still friends with him on Facebook. He's a really interesting guy, an interesting cat. But he was kind of really so we roll up to this place. I don't know. It was somewhere in Orange County. I remember it was a fair hike, and we get to the studio, and we start kind of doing some tracking, and George turns up, and he's like, "Ron, can I talk to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, we've got to get the fuck out of here. This place sucks. Like, you know, this desk is so old, man. There was like a broken window in the studio that they just had leaned like a piece of plywood up over it, and you could hear like, you know, dogs barking. And,
Sure.
you know, he's going, dude, this isn't going to work, man. He's going, my vision of punk is to really kind of produce some good shit. I want to document this scene. I want this to be a good recording.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to tell, you know, I know it's your girlfriend and I know it's your girlfriend's dad deal, but you just got to get out of this somehow. And I'm like, fuck, you know, because it's kind of, you know, it's almost like a family thing. So long story short, man, I say, you know, look, I blame George. I blame the other band members, and I kind of weasel my way out of this. And I go, sorry, we're not doing it here. And I mean, ironically, there's because this girlfriend who will remain unnamed, her dad and his mate did like a mobile recording, a demo of I think it might have been Ricky, it might have been the Ricky Blake, myself, and Joel. Like we did this kind of early demo in my garage, and like she's got that, and like I think she's so pissed about this thing still, like even 30, 40 years later, that because I think she had intimated to John Morris at one stage that she would release this given some conditions, and I was like, look, fuck, man, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
You know? So there is this kind of other floating demo that's kind of out there, but. You know, we did a few cassettes, but you know, she's got the master.
Did you complete any tracks in that recording studio?
No.
Okay,
we
so
just
you kind of just started and quit and left.
Started and left. You know, I think we were there a day, and that was it.
Okay.
But we did lay some stuff down, but you know, it's probably, who knows.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll surface one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think we just laid down some you know, a couple of rough tracks. Like I think we just did it live to tape, like me singing and everything. Anyway, so we get out of there, and then you know George's vision is, man, we're recording at this studio in Hollywood. I think it was West Hollywood, called Skip Sailor Recording. Now this is a fucking high end professional studio. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. You know, I mean, you know, we're punks, man. We're kids. You know, we're playing in the garage, and we go in, and this is like the real deal, man. Like, there was so many baffles and soundboards, and you know, I've never seen so many cables in my life. So many mics. You know, a drum booth. You know, like everyone's separate. You know, I'm in another room entirely. Like this is. You know, and it was, everything was schmick, you know. I mean, I think like, you know, the Cars had recorded there, and Rick James, and, you know, and the guys who, John Gass was, he was the guy twiddling the knobs. He was the mixer, and he went on to be like, I think he won or was nominated for an Academy Award for something, you know, like he got into soundtracks and like movie soundtracks and stuff. And so this was like the real deal. Like it was expensive. I don't know how much, you know, because George is funding it all. And, you know, he's like a great guy, you know, but he's quite wealthy. Like, you know, his house was in Bel Air, and, you know, big house, and, you know, wealthy parents, you know, kind of aristocrats from Europe or something. And, or I think So but anyway, he was bankrolling this thing. Yeah.
Is he Upstart Records then?
Yeah, so he's Upstart. Yeah. Okay. George Newberry is Upstart Records. This was out of his parents. I think if there's an address for Upstart on the album, it's his parents' house. Okay. You know? And so he was Upstart, and he bankrolled the whole thing. And,
we should drive up there.
It was expensive. I think it was like $5,000 or $6,000 the recording.
Holy fuck! So we should drive up and thank his parents though.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting Stalag in a good studio.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was one thing. Like, I've heard this numerous times and from some pretty reputable people. I mean, one of them was the bass player from Helmet, who I met. You know, they came out to tour in Australia, and I went to see them play at the Prince of Wales, and I just went up and started talking to them, you know, as you do, because it was, you know, just punk rock to me. And he's like, yeah, cool, man. Hey, you know, because I said, hey, are you guys all from New York? And he goes, no, man, I'm from Portland, Oregon. And I go, oh, cool. I used to play in a band back in the States, you know. we played up in Portland, you know, and he's going, oh yeah, what was the name of your band? I go, Stalag. No fucking way, dude, you guys were awesome, man. I was at your show, you played with Poison Idea, fuck, man, I love you guys. And I'm like, hang on, I'm a struggling casual academic, and you're in a multi-platinum selling metal band. Fuck, man, what went wrong there? And you love me, you know? Like, yeah. And you know, I was just going, this is cool. And he said, he goes, you know what was the most? He goes, you know what kind of makes you guys stand out, man, was the quality of your recording, man. He goes, that album was so polished, you know, for the time, you know. There's all these bands. I mean, even like I was listening to Black Flag on Spotify yesterday, and I've got it cranked up, but not all the way. And then all of a sudden a Black Flag song comes on, and it's so muffled and low. I had to like turn it up to as high as my iPhone would let me to hear it, because really at the end of the day, the recording quality is a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm kind of going, fuck, I'm going to have Greg James suing me now. But, yeah, it was, you know, like, you know, that's, you know, I don't know, maybe it's an arrogant statement. I don't know.
No, that recording is amazing. And it's so,
you know, and that's what I've heard by a lot of different people is that, yeah, the recording, and because it was in a high quality studio with professional sound engineers who knew what they were doing, and they really and George was great. He got the best out of it. He worked us like a mother in there, man. Like I had laid down all of the tracks, and he was like, take it home and listen to it, Ron. You know, take it home for a week and have a listen, let your friends listen to it. And, you know, I could tell he wasn't 100% happy, and I was like, fuck, you know. And so, you know, I took it back down to our start, and you know, we were listening to it. You know, the band was listening to it, and they're going, you know. And then Mark Hickey listened to it, and he goes, dude, man, you got to do these again, man. He goes, I'm just not feeling it. He goes, I've seen you guys play live. I've seen you practice. I know what you can do. You know, go back in and do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I felt really like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So we scrapped all of my vocals.
Holy
and
fuck.
I went in and did them again. And it was like, you know, and it was true. Like I really kind of like, put yourself there, you know, sing like you're, you know, like you're not recording, sing like it's live, sing like it's, you know, your life depends on it. And that's kind of what happened, you know?
Yeah. So how was your first session? Was it too soft? Was it too harsh? How did you lay it down and properly?
Too soft.
Yeah.
Too soft.
You're in there trying to sing a little too much.
Yeah. I was trying to sing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And it just wasn't there. It wasn't like what I did on stage just wasn't coming across, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I would say. Definitely just too soft, too mellow, you know?
Yeah. So kind
of not really hitting it, you know?
But when you're done with this record, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like you created a classic?
You know, no, not at all. Like I was really pleased with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I got to say I was really happy with it, you know, like, cause I mean, even my young 18, 19-year-old ears, I was starting to appreciate, well, this sounds pretty damn good. And I remember my dad, cause my dad was really into jazz and R&B. And so he had this shit hot stereo. And I remember listening to the cassette on that. And then when we got the test pressings, listening to the test pressing, you know, with the Sennheiser, you know, headphones, going, fuck, man, this is really awesome. You know, like, I wasn't thinking like it's a classic or anything. I was just thinking, damn, this sounds good.
Yeah.
You know, and even now, man, I was listening to a kind of a punk drive mix on Spotify, just a random one. And, what song came on? Conditions came on. And I was like, fuck, man, that is so clean, so crisp, so precise, so on the money, you know, like, you know, it was, you know, I was just going, damn, you know, and the song that just blows me away to this day is Black and Gray.
Of course. Because they,
just, you know.
Well, they were able to capture, like, they got a really nice recording, but they didn't lose, like, the driviness of it. You know, like the drums are still raging, and Black and Gray, because you know the band in later iterations without you, they've re-recorded that song plenty of times, and it never has like that initial energy. And so those later ones, they're not about it being overproduced. It's about like, I don't know, no one can really capture that like 80s drum sound, you know?
Yeah, totally. And it was just mixed so well. Like the bass is there.
Yeah, you hear
The
everything.
drums are, like you said, driving. You can hear everything. You know, you can even lock in and go, oh, I just want to listen to the lead guitar. And you can do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just mixed so well, you know? And, you know, it was like these guys, like I said, John Gass, and there was another guy, you know, his name's on the credits on the album. I can't remember his name, but they were just like, they were professionals, man. This is what these guys did for a living.
So this comes out in 1984, and also,
yeah, I would say early '84. Yeah, I think, yeah.
And the Nardcore comp also comes out in '84.
Yeah.
Which of these did you record for first? Do you remember?
Oh, fuck, I think we had recorded. In Control first, because that was the recordings for that were finished in December '83.
Okay, and then you go and you record these songs for the Nardcore comp. Statistic and Do It Right.
Statistic and Do It Right, yeah. Which Do It Right was like, you know, it was fun, but my rapping's pretty poor on that. But you know, ironically, I went on because I played in a couple of bands here in Australia, and one of the most like the prolific, and we were actually kind of starting to do kind of big-ish things here, and then it just didn't happen for us. But I was in this band called 20 Minutes. And it was like a heavy hip hop crossover thing. And, like there was two singers. There was one guy, this guy Archie, doing a Pantera kind of, you know, rah! Right. And all I did was rap, man. And I was fucking nailing it, man. Yeah. It was like that. Those songs were, you know, like I had it in me, but do it right. Not not my best rapping.
Well, that's early.
That was, you know,
84 is early for hip hop too. You know, like the golden era doesn't come until several years later.
Nah, but it was funny because, you know, hip hop and punk, man, had like real synergies, man. You know, like I was, I went to see the Beastie Boys back in the day, like early on. I went to see Run DMC at the Hollywood Palladium, you know, like, you know, I think I was wearing a Black Flag shirt. And I mean, there was a lot of punks there. Yeah. And so there was a lot, you know, and it's just these kind of like, yeah, you know, it was, you know, largely, you know, a middle-class white scene, but definitely feeling marginalized and oppressed and not understood, like, you know, the kind of the African-American community that being, you know, so there was these kind of similar, you know, I guess vibe. So, you know, hip hop was definitely on my radar, on a lot of people's radar at that stage.
Well, definitely for,
we're kind of digressing.
No, I mean, it's definitely a subculture and also, you know, for people that, especially in those early days, just like punk and hardcore, is for people that think a little bit different outside of the mainstream.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing I didn't really I didn't really think about at the time much, but I just only recently got around to, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, to watching James Spooner's documentary Afropunk. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's, you know, about the kind of the, you know, the African-American punk experience. And it was kind of done, it was released in 2003, but kind of done in the, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, yeah, it was an interesting documentary because I never really kind of thought about it. When I was young, I was just like, yeah, okay, you know, if I think back, I go, I was one of two black punks in Ventura County, you know, it was like, or Ventura and Santa Barbara counties, because there's Vince Preparis from RKL in Santa Barbara and myself. And then there was, you know, a few dudes in LA, but, you know, yeah, it was, you know, so that was, you know, it's kind of a different whole dynamic that I really didn't think about as when I was in the scene. But, you know, this documentary, yeah, it was kind of cool. Kind of, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
I think that's cool. I mean, it is interesting, you know, to have a black dude singing, right? Early hardcore. It's part of, I mean, it's a piece of what makes Stalag so rad too. You know, it's like some a little different. Did you ever like when did like Nazis and like white power people start coming around like to shows? Has that always been there?
Oh yeah, shit. No. It was kind of non-existent, I would say, early on. Like, you know, and I mean, look, Oxnard's a funny place because there's a lot of Mexican punks, you know.
Sure.
You know, you had all the Hernandez brothers and heaps of other people, and even in LA. I mean, you know, it's a you know, large Latino, like Circle One, man. They were all Puerto Ricans, you know. so there's a lot of Latinos, so there's a lot of, color going on in there. And Jewish people and all kinds of people, it's like, Drew Bernstein, had a Jewish background, Alison Braun, who was, kind of the great photographic documenter of the scene, along with, Glenn Friedman and Ed Culver and others. But, so you got this mixed, it's not, I guess it's probably unfair to say it's a completely middle-class white culture or scene. But anyways, so the skinheads probably when I was kind of getting out of it, I guess, probably 87, 88, I think.
So the later 80s
and definitely
is when it starts
after,
popping in.
Yeah, the late 80s is when it really started popping up, And because I think, I remember, I would say 87, 88. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. That's when that's when it started. You started seeing these kind of Nazi skins. And there'd always been skins, but they were mostly, sharps. They were,
just traditional.
Just,
non-racist.
Traditional kind of working class. Yeah, and there was even, a couple of black ones in LA, and I remember Rene Lahane from Santa Barbara, man. He was, he's Mexican, and he was, still, would call himself a skin,
Yeah.
And, and then, then there was a couple of people, I know who will remain nameless from, the Ventura County scene that got into the Nazi thing. And it was, primarily after I left, because I went overseas, I'm probably jumping ahead, but I kind of left the country in, it was early 87, I think.
Okay.
And then I was gone all of 87 and most of 88.
Mm-hmm.
About, nearly 2 years. And that's when a lot of that shit went down. There was some stabbings and beatings, and, the shows were turning into these kind of bloodbaths. You'd go to the Olympic Auditorium, and it'd be just kind of battles between punks and skins. And, I missed all of that. I was in Europe having fun,
So you're saying it's your fault? If you wouldn't have left, you could have kept the peace.
If I wouldn't have left, I would have kept the peace. No, I don't know. I'd have probably just got the shit beat out of myself because I, tend to be very vocal and, and mouth off against idiots like that. But I don't know, or, but yeah. So that was, so I kind of, But I remember seeing it, kind of in the late 80s it started. Even maybe in 86 even. There was a little bit going on. And then,
So we can blame the Stalag 13 heavy metal demo for it.